Hi, what's up guys, TSJAwesome 628 here, back again with another Mighty Career Mode, this time for episode 5 of the Chinese Grand Prix. Just going to sort out our activities timeline, which has this invitational event, which obviously gives us a lot of things, but it's right in the way. Like, it could be a day later and then we get 2 4-day events, but at this point we have to waste 2 days of time in a way, because if I do chassis department focus, it removes the morale of too many other areas. So we're just probably going to go for the sponsor event filming, because I don't really care about durability right now. I just want performance. But we'll advance on to the invitational event, which is going to be our first look at Zandvoort in the My Team career, and we can just complete it pretty simply. 7.8 kilometers, and we get just over 8 or something. I think we got about 8.5 in the end, but it just got us a free 1,000 acclaim and a bit of cash. And we are going to make an upgrade to the chassis department to unlock the spec 1 of the chassis and to allow us to do 2 upgrades at the same time, which should help us a lot. But we are going to go to the Chinese Grand Prix, so we'll see how it goes. It is going to be raining in qualifying for the first bit, but it's going to be drier towards the end of qualifying, apparently. We had a debate between the aerodynamics or chassis major, and we upgrade, and we decided to go for the chassis one because we already have lots of upgrades on the aero. So we're going into our wet qualifying here in China. We start our first lap here, and it wasn't a great lap, but I hadn't done a lap in these conditions around China yet because practice was completely dry. So as we go through the first few turns there, you can see I'm going a bit wide through some corners, trying to find where the traction is, the grip, and you see we're going a bit sideways there, but through the final corner, and we set a 1:46.3, and we're 7 tenths behind our teammate, so we're definitely going to go out again. But we are out here for our second lap, and we are, well, we're not really gaining any time as we head into the first few turns. We are in P21. Our teammate looks like he's up there. Jack Aitken doing well, I think. As it stands, he would be through to Q2. Which I'm not sure if he's made Q2 yet. Maybe he did. No, I don't think he has. Maybe. But we're about 8 tenths up as we end the lap, and that puts us P14. And Aitken is right on the edge in P16. We go out again with a few seconds to go, and just cross the line in time to set another lap as we've been pushed back down to P17 as Magnussen is in P15. He's just finished his lap ahead of us, so hopefully he doesn't hold us up on this lap. But as you can see there, that means that Aitken is definitely in the top 14, which means he will definitely be through as P16 goes through, and we improve by 2.5 tenths to also guarantee our place in Q2 with P15. So all round good session as Aitken does end up in P13 and we're P15, as Sergio Perez tops the session. So I don't know what car is he using, because obviously the Racing Point is not expected to top the session. Maybe they just decided to copy the Mercedes car a bit earlier, because Stroll was knocked out in P19 in the other Racing Point, so it's probably just a glitch though. Q2, we saw that we looked at the weather forecast and we thought it was going to dry up just right at the end of the session. Everyone got a dry lap in, but we decided to go on the mediums because I didn't want to get into Q3 on the softs, because then you have a really compromised strategy for the race. And it is because we're the last car out on track. We should be much quicker than some of the others around us. As you can see, everyone is just going quicker and quicker. As you can see at the moment, Bottas and Vettel are P15, but then Bottas goes quicker. And it seems because everyone's going quicker that if we just get a solid lap in on the mediums here, we will still go through to Q2. As we're just rolling through the corners. I mean, as we head on to the end of the lap, just so you didn't see my sector 2 time, just so you know where we're doing it, but we will make it through. And P9, but it doesn't really matter as we go through to Q3, but that means that we do get to start on the medium tyres in the race tomorrow, which should really benefit us. But Jack Aitken was sadly knocked out in P14 in that session, not doing so well, and Perez was out in P11 despite topping Q1. We head on to the soft tyres for Q3, our first time into Q3 as a team as well as just a driver. But we head through the first few corners, and this was not a great lap. As you can see, Albon is right behind us and is already pressurising us, and I don't know why he didn't just drop off and start his lap a bit later, because it seems like he's just going to cost himself a lot of time because he isn't a quicker car than us. But that didn't really seem to matter for him. He just wanted to be right behind us, and he almost thinks about overtaking us on our qualifying lap, and that's just going to cost both of us lots of time. So I don't really know what Albon was doing. But a good start to the lap, and as we come through the final corner, we're just going to set at a 31.3, which isn't a quick lap really, but it wasn't, well, it was quite slow, but for where our car is, it wasn't that slow. Our car isn't quick enough to get into Q3 yet, so we probably will just end up P10, even if we improve on this second run here, as we're losing time in the first few corners. But we head round it, and well, we didn't lose that much time. We're about half a tenth down. But as we come to the end of the lap, we're just over 4 tenths up, and that will still see us in P10, but it was an improvement to the lap, and we could find some time where we were missing it.
Complete. Let's review our top 3 today. Bottas, Hamilton, and Charles Leclerc.
But yeah, Bottas and Hamilton in the Mercs were much quicker. Claire asked us about the weather in qualifying. I mean, we just need to be able to perform in these conditions, and I think we did, because we managed to get through to Q3, even if it was a gamble that went correctly. But yeah, at this level you have to be able to perform in all weather conditions, is the answer that we decided to go with. I do agree that it has been a great qualifying session for us, our first time in Q3, and I decided to go for a realistic answer because we took a great strategy gamble for qualifying to hopefully get us a better starting tyre in the race. So I went for, we have a great strategy and it should get us plenty of points. And we debated going for the car feels fantastic, but we didn't in the end. This will be the grid rundown, which this time I'm just going to let Crofty do.
The fence starts from pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Leclerc, Albon, Sebastian Vettel, and Verstappen, Ricciardo, Ocon, Sainz, and Thomas, Perez, Norris, Antonio Giovinazzi, and Grosjean, Magnussen, Gasly, Daniel Kvyat, and Lance Stroll, Russell, Latifi, Aitken. They've taken a grid penalty, and Kimi Raikkonen finishes off the grid.
We're going to get into the race now. We're on the one-stop strategy, as I planned to do, with the medium tyres going onto the hards on around lap 11. And we get a decent start. It's not brilliant, but we don't lose any positions. But a gap emerges on the inside line and we manage to get past Ocon and Sainz, but then we get a slight tap from Ricciardo and end up running a bit wide and give those positions straight back, and, well, end up back in P10, just as we had started. Perez tries to come around our inside, but then we try and go up the inside of Ocon, but he gets a better exit than us, and there's a yellow flag directly behind, I don't know why, but we stay in exactly the same position, and towards the end of that we're pressurising Ocon still. Perez is falling a bit further back, and we thought we had good pace in this race. I was like, yes, we've got some good pace on this tyre, we can match the rest of the midfield, but Perez gains a bit of time back and Ocon pulls away, and as we head later on in the lap, you see a few rain droplets that weren't part of the weather, or the weather forecast, start coming onto our radar. And our engineer just told us about the rain. He crucially said though that we would remain with dries for the rest of the race, so it isn't going to get wet enough to go on the intermediates. And the rain isn't that heavy, but you can definitely see the droplets on the screen, and it was making me struggle more than the cars around us. But we head on to the end of lap 3, and Leclerc is already in the pits from his soft tyres, which is definitely why I didn't want to start on them, because you'd have had to pit so early, and knowing our tyre wear this season, it hasn't been good. So we continue on through the rest of lap 4 and start of lap 5, and well, we're still ahead of Sergio Perez and Lando Norris, who are pressurising us directly behind, and Ocon and Sainz are getting ahead. A few more cars came to the pits though, and we're up to P5, and on the end of lap 5 and start of lap 6 we actually take the lead of the Grand Prix because of them pitting early on off their soft tyres. Perez and Norris again are directly behind us, but Giovinazzi is then in P4 and Grosjean P5, who are cars that I definitely think we can beat this race. I'm not sure if we have the pace over Perez and Norris. They are in quicker cars, but we're supposed to be quicker than the Alphas and the Haas. We head into turn 1 at the start of lap 7, and as predicted, the rain isn't getting any heavier, it's just sort of a few drops, and at some straights it doesn't look like it's raining, and then through the occasional corner and some straights it does look like it's raining. So it was quite a different part of the track. It was different weather, but Perez tries to overtake us through lap 7, but we managed to keep the position, and at the end of lap 7 we start lap 8 and we're still in the lead of the Grand Prix. So we have led our first lap as a team, but Perez has definitely got more pace than us, and he tries to go up the inside into this corner, but we hold firm and try and keep our position. Obviously he's going to go around the outside and he does a better pace, so he does get past us, but Lando Norris also gets a good exit, and we use our overtake and rich mode to try and get back past Perez, and Lando Norris comes right on the right hand side and overtakes both of us. We try and go back round the inside, but we don't quite have the grip to do that, and we make a bit of contact, but we lose the lead to Lando Norris, and it isn't to Sergio Perez as I expected. We do get some DRS though, and we'll see if we can get back past Lando Norris, but I'm not sure if we have the pace. But Lando Norris pulls away now, and he was basically gone for the rest of the races. Perez is now right on the back of us and overtakes us on lap 10. So with Giovinazzi and Grosjean right behind us, I believe we have the pace over them, but because they've been getting DRS, they can keep up with us. But we have a bit of DRS now, as we did last lap, and our pit window opens, so we are going to be coming to the pits at the end of this lap, and we move on to then the exit of turn 1. Perez is just slowly pulling away, gaining from about 6 to about 7 tenths and then 8 tenths. And Bottas is flying after. He's pitted for another set of soft tyres, but he'll probably have to pit again very shortly, considering the softs did between about 3 and 7 laps for the people running on them. But we are the first of the medium tyre runners to pit, and our tyre wear wasn't brilliant, as per usual. We have a decent stop, but nothing yet. It's not really a great stop. I say decent. It was 2.8. It gets us ahead of Kimi Raikkonen, which was necessary probably for our race. We didn't want to get stuck behind him. But we are now on the hard tyres, and we'll see whether we can gain time on the cars around us. We're obviously not going to improve on our personal best though, because it's now raining, as it wasn't right on the start of the race. It is getting slightly heavier and slightly heavier. But Bottas is in the pits at the end of lap 12, and we're going to come out the pits side by side with him, and we just about hold him off. But I think he may be going to the end on these tyres, so like we are, he'll probably be quicker than us though, so it will be a struggle to keep him behind. So we try and keep our position, as he is only 2 tenths behind us. We pull away obviously through the corner because of the dirty air, but straight after he's come up the pit, same lap, he's just going to breeze past us on the straight, and there's nothing we can really do about it. So we head on to the start of lap 14 now, and a few more cars come into the pits, including our teammate. Perez comes out of the pits just ahead of Bottas and really holds them up, which allows us to close back up to them going into the first few turns. Raikkonen is also just behind us, so a mini train is starting to form because of Perez coming out the pits, but they are much quicker than us, so we're probably not going to be ahead for long, and we've already lost so much time to them as we start lap 15. Moving on in lap 15, there's a yellow flag directly ahead of us, and Ricciardo seems to have a major issue, and he has a puncture on one of his tyres on the right hand side, which we're allowed to just go straight past him, and he immediately pulls into the pits, as maybe he was hitting some tyre wear like we have, and as a result of other people pitting, we're now up to P9, and as we head on to lap 17, a couple more cars are in the pits, and we're up to P8. Verstappen comes out just ahead of us, and we close in on him, but we're not quite close enough to go for a move, and he'll just pull away. As we head on to lap 18, Albon and Ocon are now in the pits, and we come out ahead of both of them, and we're up to P6, so that's good news for us, but we're going to be pressurised by Albon pretty easily, and he should be much quicker than us. As we head later in the lap, Albon does go for move with us as Kevin Magnussen is out of the session, and Albon is pressurising us, but we try and hold our position, but on the straight he's just going to come straight past us, and I'm not going to turn up the engine because he was going to get us eventually. There are still 10 laps to go, and that was always going to be hard. We do get some DRS though, as we head on to lap 19, 9 laps to go to try and hold this P7, but Vettel is much quicker than us, and he is going to come right behind us, as he is currently in P8. He's already got within a second by the time I finish turn 1, 2 and 3. But on this straight again, we have turned up our engine to overtake, but it really isn't going to hold Vettel behind, so he gets past. We get some DRS, which allows us to just pull away from Giovinazzi slowly. The gap's about 1.8 to Giovinazzi, and I believe we can manage that for the majority of the race. We're just trying to pace ourselves though, and slowly pull away, whilst trying to make the tyres last as long as possible. Head on to lap 21 now, and we've gained about a tenth on Giovinazzi, but then he pulls that back in the straight because we don't go up to overtake. And same on lap 21, we get our first warning as we get the gap up to 2 seconds before Giovinazzi slowly pulls it slightly down on the straight, which seems to be a recurring theme with Alfa Romeo's straight line speed. But only 6 laps to go to manage the gap, and he manages to get it down to 1.6 as Nicholas Latifi is out of the race, and we try and pull it back up to 1.7, but he is just quicker on the straights than us, and it's at this point in the race, as we get it back up to 2 seconds, we are quicker in the final sector. We're just trying to, every time he gets it lower, getting it back up to 2 seconds. It goes back down to 1.8 on this straight, and we are just trying to manage the gap. It goes back down to 1.8, so that's slowly okay. But as per usual, we are struggling with some tyre wear at this stage of the race, and he is going to slowly start catching us up now, as we're trying to push as hard as possible now, but we can't pull away. He gets it back down to 1.2, as you can see how much with the tyre wear we are losing, and it's now 7 tenths by the start of lap 27, but there's only 2 laps left, and as we head on to the final lap, it's still only about 6 tenths, and he hasn't been able to get close enough to challenge us. So Bottas wins the Grand Prix, which I believe will give him the championship lead, but both of Mercedes were miles ahead of everyone else. But Giovinazzi just wasn't close enough, and Leclerc's had a terrible race down in P10 for Ferrari. He's not even been able to beat like me or Giovinazzi, let alone challenge Perez or Norris. But we come round to better our Vietnam result and claim P8, so 4 more points as well as the 1 that we had in Vietnam, so that should bring our total up to 5 for the season and 6 as a team, as Jack Aitken's point in Bahrain.
Let's see what effect this result has had on the drivers' standings. Valtteri Bottas passes his rival to take over the lead of the Drivers' Championship. So, Anthony Davidson, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
It's got to be Lando Norris, hasn't it? Smooth, confident and assured. I've got no doubt that he and his team are going to be over the moon with his performance today.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. There was also a strong showing from the McLaren team today as they make their way up the standings. Well, Ant, an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
So, Bottas winning the race did indeed put him up into the championship lead, as him and Hamilton are already pulling away from the Ferraris and Red Bulls. Ricciardo loses the spot to Albon because of his puncture, and Perez and Norris and me all go up the standings with our one-stop strategy, as we were pretty quick in that race. Well, compared to the cars that we were battling. Alfa Romeo pick up their first points of the year in Giovinazzi, with him finishing P9, and that means that it's still only AlphaTauri, Haas and Williams that are yet to score. And, well, Jack Aitken falls down to P15 in the standings as we head up to P12, and I think our aim can be to get top 10 this season in terms of the standings, and we're P7 in the Constructors, which I think we can maybe grab a P6 if we're lucky. We head on to the interview with Claire now.
Your team must be ecstatic with how you're performing.
Yeah, I hope my team are happy with how I'm performing, because, well, I mean, especially this Grand Prix getting 4 more points.
Feel comfortable in the wet weather today?
Well, it wasn't wet enough to change tyres, so it was in a slight position where we didn't have the intermediates, but we didn't have full dry conditions. And then, yeah, I don't really know. I didn't make too much contact, but this just seems to be a question they always ask, probably because of the first lap, where we made a few pieces of contact. But in the next episode, we'll also be able to sign another sponsor to the car, as we have reached level 5 on the team acclaim, which it will show at some point. And our rivalry with Kimi Raikkonen's going well, as we've scored in both the races since we chose this rival, and we're now leading him 10-8. But I'm going to leave this episode here, and I'll see you guys next time for the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort.